Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and this is another edition of What the Fugue, where I talk about what's going on with me in my world of comics and comic collecting. Let's see. Big news for me, maybe. Not that big a deal. People picked on me on Twitter about it, which is kind of funny. I've decided that I'm going to get my comic books weekly now. I'm going to have them mailed to me weekly as opposed to every 2 weeks. We'll see how that works out. One of the reasons I want to do that is I want to be able to get the books in time to read them. So when I do the Friday podcast that I'm normally on, that I've read the current books. It's not like I don't read current books, but by the time I've read them, they're a week or two old, depending on what book and what week it is. So I'm hoping to get my books soon enough that I can do that. And maybe jump on some of those other hangouts that go out there where people are talking about the current books and whatnot, because I know that's generally the main conversation that goes on in a lot of those weekly webcasts is the current books. And unless it's something I happen to buy off the shelf, which doesn't happen that often, I can't talk about the current books in specifics. All I can talk about is in somewhat generals and whatnot, and I know people are worried about spoiling stuff for me when I'm on those shows, so hopefully I'll have them. How it works out for my 2 weeks, when I get my comics every 2 weeks, twice a month, it's Comic Book Wednesday. The day Comic Book Wednesday comes out, then that day I get an email from Discount Comic Book Service telling me that they have mailed my books out. My books tend to come FedEx ground most of the time, and so I get them Wednesdays when they're shut out. I normally get them the next Tuesday, which, if that's how it still ends up being, there'll be less comics, so I think it may get shipped through the United States Postal Service. If it gets shipped through the United States Postal Service, I'm assuming they're shipping it as a either first class or a priority parcel. I should get it in 2 or 3 days, which means I would have it by Friday, hopefully, to actually read some of the books to be able to talk about them. If it ends up that I still don't get them until that next Tuesday, I will probably turn around and go back to not getting them on a weekly basis, because there's no point. If I can't get them in time to have them the current week, I don't know that it matters. Other than that 1 week of me reviewing comics won't be so late. The week that me and Ethan review comics, where it sometimes ends up being like 3 weeks after the fact. So I don't know. I'm going to kind of see how it works out and whatnot, but I'm kind of looking forward to having the comic books a little more recent. It's costing me the equivalent of about 3 comics worth to get them shipped to me that often, so we'll see if that really works out or whatnot, as far as that goes. As far as news that's coming out and whatnot, the only thing I can think of wise is that I hear that Mind Management has been picked up by Fox and Ridley Scott, optioned for a movie. That might be kind of cool. I plan on picking that trade up here pretty quick. If I don't pick it up now, I'm going to pick it up at the Emerald City Comic Con that I'm going to, because Matt Kent's supposed to be there, so I can get his signature on that and buy it from him if he's actually selling them. I'd rather pay my money to the actual creators. Speaking of paying money to the actual creators, by the time this loads up, it'll probably be Thursday morning, day after Comic Book Day. Today's Comic Book Day. Hawkeye issue 7 is out today. It is a special kind of like a Sandy issue, having to do with the Sandy hurricane and storm that went through the east coast of the United States. If you have any thoughts about picking the book up, pick up that issue. It should be its own story in a sense. If you're curious at all about Hawkeye and you haven't been getting it yet, pick up that issue. Why? Because Matt Fraction, the writer, all of his revenue that he would normally get paid off of the book, he has donated to the Sandy Relief Fund. He is not getting paid for that book. He basically did that book for free, so all the money gets donated to that. So this is a good time to jump on for 2 reasons. One, it's an awesome book. In my opinion, it's the best Marvel book that's out there. 2, if you're curious at all, this is a good book because some piece of that proceeds are going to go to, help out some people who are still in pretty tough straits through this winter with their houses pretty trashed and stuff like that. So it's a good cause all the way around as far as that goes. And I know that I saw on Twitter that there were actually some comic book stores that were doing other deals on top of that where they were donating some more proceeds on top of it themselves, to the whole Sandy Relief Fund and whatnot. So that's pretty cool if that's the case. So check that out if you would. It's a way to get a cool comic, in my opinion. Plus, it is donating some funds to some much-needed people that need it. So it's a win-win all the way around as far as that goes. Other comic book news. Some of you know I occasionally do an actual podcast, not a YouTube podcast, but an actual podcast with a friend of mine, Eric, from Longbox Review. He's on Twitter at Longbox Review. He's got a WordPress page at Longbox Review. But I do podcast syndication. We've been doing this Best of 2012 podcast. And we broke it up into two pieces. One part's already been published. I'll hopefully have links down below at some point here to show you that. But like I said, you can look it up. It's Longbox Review at WordPress.com. Or if you have a Twitter account, if you just type in Longbox Review, you're going to get to him. From him, you can get to the page that way also. But what I'm getting at with this is we split it up into two parts because, of course, it went so long because I will talk forever about comic books if people allow me to. So we split it up. And yesterday, Eric was, on Twitter asking me, he was re-listening to the second half of the Best of 2012. He hasn't been published yet, to my knowledge. As of me filming this, hasn't been published yet. The second half of it, he was re-listening to it to edit to make sure everything's okay and whatnot before he puts it in the podcast form and stuff. And he was asking me if I thought Jeff Lemire was holy cows, Scott Snyder. That Scott Snyder was my pick for best writer of the year. And he wondered if one of the reasons that is because Scott Snyder's cranking out these awesome Batman stories right now because he's going to be going to Superman. This new Superman title is going to be on, and so he's got to hurry up and get them done before he's off the book or not really writing the book and off doing the Superman stuff. Of course, I tweeted back saying, "Oh no, I think that Scott Snyder is the best writer because not only of Batman." His American Vampire stuff, his Swamp Thing stuff, his Severed stuff. He just wrote a lot of awesome stuff that influenced a lot of stuff, and the whole Death of the Family thing, and these other great stories that have come out of that and stuff. That's why he was the best writer. And I also said, hey, look, I've heard Scott Snyder say numerous times Batman's his dream job. He's not leaving that dream job, and that he is going to make it a point of knocking it out of the park every time he can because he doesn't know how long he's going to get to keep writing these stories, so he's going to write the most awesomest stories he can think of, not take any breaks in between to get the most out of it as he can. Anyway, I guess Scott Snyder noticed that we were tweeting about him. And Eric, on his webpage, he actually has a phone number you can call and call it. It's an answering machine that you can leave messages to him if you don't feel like typing a message or doing your own podcast in reply or whatever. You can call and leave your whatevers that way. Scott Snyder actually called. Hey, this is Scott Snyder. And talk for a few seconds about the fact, look, I appreciate all the great things you guys are saying about me, but I just want to reassure you that he's not leaving Batman at all. He's still got more great stories going on for Batman. That basically every Batman story he writes is he writes it like it's the only Batman story he's ever going to get to write. So he's just putting everything he can into it. Really cool stuff. Anyway, I'm not stealing the thunder from Eric and Longbox Review and whatnot. That's all pretty cool. Like I said, the links will be down below. I would bet here in the next couple of days that podcast is going to go up. You should check it out. Check out any of the other podcasts if you're somebody who likes to just listen to podcasts. A lot of people comment that I seem pretty calm and cool collect for most of my videos, except for my occasional fanboy rant and whatnot. But if you listen to the podcast, I guess I'm more excitable there because I'm talking with Eric, one of my best friends, and so I'll rant and call BS on stuff, and I don't know. I always sound like I'm more excitable there than I am otherwise. Maybe not. Maybe I just think I'm excitable, and everybody else sees me as cool and collected. Anyway, it's pretty cool stuff. So check that out. Like I said, hopefully I will get links down there to get you to the podcast, and I'll let everybody know again when that actual podcast goes live. It should be here pretty soon, I would guess. Anyway, this is going long because I'm rambling now. I don't think I have a whole lot more else to say right now that's going on in my world of comics for this week. Other than it's been a pretty good week. And that's it. Hope everybody else is having a great comic book week, and I will catch most of you on the weekend somewhere along the way. Bye.